Dark Was the Night, a movie that came out of nowhere. I haven't really heard about it, but I know it had that guy from The Strain that I liked quite a bit. His name's Kevin Durand.
Yes, it is.
And in my opinion, I believe that this movie would have been completely different had he not been involved.
I could see that, yeah. Strong character for this movie.
Super strong. I honestly feel like he knocked it out of the fucking park.
It's got a lot of other, like, maybe you don't know their names, but you know their face type characters. Lucas Haas, he's the deputy.
He's the deputy, but I didn't recognize him from anywhere.
Oh, you didn't? Okay,
No.
well, I think some of you out there will recognize that face. And then Nick Damici, I think is how you say his last name. Late Phases, all that.
I gotta be honest, I didn't recognize a single other person other than Kevin Durant.
Okay, yeah. The bartender, he's in Late Phases and a whole bunch of the shit. I think he's in I can't think of it now, but he's in one of those like 8 Films to Die For, or whatnot, one of those series.
I like those.
Yeah. So a solid cast to say the least.
So the movie at its core is a creature feature, I would say.
It is a creature feature.
I am not generally a fan of the creature feature. I have no problem admitting that ever since I was a small boy.
Right.
I just don't like them. I'm more on I was always a slasher kid,
Sure.
right? But this one is done just a little bit differently.
Sure. And disclaimer on the opposite end of the spectrum, I tend to like creature features.
Okay.
So they're not always my favorite, but if done properly, definitely a fan.
So Kevin Durand is a small town sheriff who has obviously suffered some sort of tragedy in his family. Turns out it's the death of a child.
Yep.
Not really a spoiler there. It's very apparent very early on. But one night he kind of wakes up and the town has been riddled with these hoof prints and whatnot that don't really make any sense.
Strange hoof prints.
Very strange hoof prints that can't really be tied down to any sort of animal. And there is lore of the land of some sort of creature that lives in the woods in the area. And that's sort of the backdrop for Dark Was the Night.
Right. And what brilliant casting, because I think if Kevin Durand does one thing superb when it comes to acting, it is brooding. Just being like that brooding style character.
Sure.
Depressed and kind of whatnot.
Yeah.
Like you feel it when you
I
watch
do,
it.
dude.
Yeah,
I really do. Like that's what I'm saying. Like I think it's not poorly written.
No, it's not.
The movie is written as like the dialogue feels natural.
And I actually have that written down as my notes. Good writing. There's a few cliches.
Right, but
otherwise it's solid.
They're very few.
Yeah.
It would be a solid like B+ writing performance if Kevin Durand wasn't involved.
Sure.
Like this guy, man, like every sentence he says would just like his eyelids are quivering and full of tears, just ready to roll out at any given moment. Like you feel for this guy. Like you really do feel for this guy. Even if you can't like totally relate, like you can absolutely feel for him, because I do feel like his stubbornness or whatever was a little bit misplaced, but shit, man, like
sure.
I've never lost a child, so I can't really say how I would act in that scenario.
Right. And I think it would be easy for anyone to overact this particular character. And I don't think he overacts it at all. I think he's just rides that line just perfectly, that it's believable, and you like you say, you can relate to it, but you don't get that feeling of like, all right, you're pushing it right now.
Right. No, I never got that vibe at all. One immediate problem I had with
is this the elephant in the room? Because we
it is.
There is a monster elephant in the room. Please address.
So, and maybe this isn't as apparent to people that don't watch a shit ton of movies.
I think it will be. Personally, I think it will be.
Okay.
But
so every single outdoor scene is so fucking blue. Like I have a Blue Moon beer in my hand with a blue ribbon that wraps around it, and I swear to God, the color grading of every single outdoor scene is every bit as blue as this.
It's like you put on like, I remember at least in the mid 90s or so, like you used to build all these wacky colored tinted
the Steven Seagal shades.
Right, yeah, like they'd be yellows or reds or blues. It looks like you put a pair of those blue ones on.
Yeah.
and just decided to watch all the outdoor scenes. It almost, if the movie wasn't so good at other parts, it would almost make it unwatchable. It is insane.
No,
how heavy it is.
I absolutely agree. It opens with a shot of like a construction site, and these are yellow fucking like dump trucks and shit moving around, but you can't even tell that they're yellow. Like the blue is so aggressive. It really makes it look like a very low grade project. Like it looks like a film school guy who's just now starting to learn color grading and hasn't quite gotten it yet. And I was very disappointed.
Which is so insane because when you go indoors, it looks great.
I was so bummed. I was like, man, I don't even know if I want to watch this shit. And then Kevin Durand picks up his kid. They go and have dinner at the house, and everything changes.
And you're like, why does the indoor look so fucking good? And then you go outdoors, and it's fucking blue again.
And I was like, man, like for a second, I was like, man, maybe there was a legitimate problem in production, and they just kind of fucked up this opening scene a little bit.
Right. Right.
But then, like, as soon as like they eat dinner and the whole first like initial night suspense and whatnot is over, they go back outside. This shit's blue again, man.
And I kept trying to think. I was like, "Is there a reason for it to be blue?" And the only reason I could think
symbolic of some song. Yeah, I'm doing the same things.
Out.
Yeah.
The only thing I think of was they were trying to make it like, look, it's cold, it's wintry, but like, why so aggressively blue? Because it didn't give me that feeling.
And what's up?
And
I was gonna say, Mad Max Fury Road. Every outdoor scene was blue as shit.
Not as blue as this, bro. Not as blue as this.
This is the bluest thing you've ever seen in your life.
You're not ready until you see this movie. No, it's distractingly blue. And like I was doing the same thing as you were. Like I was kind of looking at like symbolism. I was like, he's kind of depressed right now. Maybe his world is blue. Like I'm really trying to like think of ways. But luckily, as the film progresses, it doesn't go outside as often.
Thank God. Yeah.
And when it's like you said, when it's indoor while you're outdoors at nighttime, even
even then,
it looks like a top shelf production. Everything looks fantastic. It's well shot. It's not fucking Smurf Town anymore.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
It's very impressive actually. Now, creature features are tough.
Not always the easiest to finish off strong.
And I think, obviously, we run modernhorrors.com. I am well versed in the modern happenings of the horror genre.
You might have seen a couple.
I've seen one or two. I can be guilty from time to time to not being as well versed in my history as I should be.
Sure.
But I will say, like, watching creature features as I was growing up, it wasn't my favorite thing, but they always relied heavily on practical effects. Like when you finally saw the creature, because that's a big part of the creature feature, is that you don't see it.
100%.
And Dark Was the Night does a fairly good job of that for a long time.
You are reading my mind or my notes there.
Well, I'm not reading your notes, but I feel like any horror fan that watches this movie is going to come away with the same opinions that obviously. We don't game plan before we have these conversations.
We barely game plan for ourselves.
I promise.
That was like one of my favorite things that they did was they hold back like the reveal, like because there's so many films.
It's very rare these days,
right? Yeah, they just 10 minutes in, here it is.
Yep.
But like, man, you're. I think I looked at the counter at one point because I was curious. And I think I was over an hour in, and we still haven't had a good look at it.
Right.
The creature. And I am all about that.
Great.
That's build up suspense.
Absolutely. The intrigue. Like, you want to finish the movie because you want to see what the hell this is.
What the fuck is.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, this brings us to the problem.
No huge spoilers here, but unfortunately. When the big reveal does happen, it's extremely disappointing.
Let down. You know what blows my mind though is like you see parts at some point, like feet in particular.
They look great
because they're practical.
Yep,
and they look fucking amazing.
Yep.
I was so psyched when I saw that. I was like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome."
I was ready. I got to tell you, I kind of saw it coming.
Your body was so ready.
I kind of saw it coming because Gray from the website reviewed this one for us, and he kind of let the
cat out of the bag a little bit.
Yeah, he kind of let the cat out of the bag a little bit. So I knew that I was going to be slightly disappointed when I saw it. I didn't know how disappointed I was going to be when I saw it.
Because it's like completely, when you see it, it's completely CG.
Not a practical thing about it.
And it does not look good.
And it's not particularly good CG.
It's not at all.
It's
I was actually surprised how weak it was.
Yeah,
based on the rest of the movie that I had seen up until that point.
Because you have a good cast, the acting's good. You obviously had good writers.
Right,
you have good equipment to film it because it looks great. You have a really shitty color grader. Perhaps the color grader is the same guy
he might
that
be
did
that
the CG.
same guy. Fuck that guy.
Because those are 2 points. The color grading you can get over after a certain amount of time because
you just accept it. It's fine.
And the whole movie doesn't take place outside.
No.
But yeah, man, once that big reveal happens, and that big reveal, especially in a creature feature, is so important. Like, it's so important. And when it finally happens, when he turns around, oh, shit.
You're like, yeah, woo.
Yeah, like, ooh.
That's what you went with.
I'm telling you, and I'd like to think that we're not malicious in our reviews or on our show or talking shit, but I swear to God, this is borderline Nintendo 64 graphics, like CG work.
You're not wrong.
It's insane.
It is not good. Like, the feet are so well conceptualized and worked out. Whoever did that is misleading you so hard on what you're going to get when the CG hits.
And in fact, like I had mentioned before, Gray kind of let the bag out.
Yeah.
And when I first saw the feet, I was like, Gray doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Right, he's so fucking wrong.
Like, that shit looks incredible. Yeah. Like, I cannot wait to see the rest of this beast.
There's crazy anatomy to it, where like the toes come out.
Where the hooves that you see around town make
actually like the knuckles and shit. It's so insane. But, but it's, overall though, the story is pretty good.
It is a very good movie. I thought so. I thought it was a very good movie. I think that it's the first creature feature in a very long time that I have actually enjoyed. I was intrigued throughout the entire time. I wanted to see what this monster looked like. Absolutely. I wanted to see what the fuck was responsible for all of these things that happen. Unfortunately, it's not a great payoff when it happens, but that doesn't negate all of the positive things that Dark Wizard Night have going on for it.
I agree, and it kind of plays on the Wendigo mythology, like Native Americans, like kind of like they hinted it early. He's looking out on the website. He finds separate articles,
and the local townsfolk they have some Native American backstory.
They're talking about it. At the end, it kind of, I don't know if it bells out on that or not, but it kind of changes. Like maybe these are just wild creatures that just happen to be there.
It does change at the end. I don't want to go too far into that, but I will say that I kind of respected the very, very ending of it a little bit.
The very, very ending. Yeah. That's a good way to do it.
I kind of respected that. So I was, again, like, this thing has a lot of positivity going into it. Unfortunately, the creature feature is fucking horrible. But you really only see it for around 10 or 15 minutes.
And that is the saving grace, because they did it the old school way. They did in my opinion, the proper way to do it.
Yeah. Had this creature been shown 15 minutes in and we had to live with it throughout the entire movie, this would be the worst shit I've seen in a long time.
I would not be happy about doing this review at all.
Right. But instead, we kept it reserved. We kept it, building it throughout the entire time. Kevin Durand, it really, really, really turned in a great performance.
Just depressing the whole time.
Just depressing, but not in that like.
No, it's not. Like you don't want to quit watching.
Like, goddamn, dude, just fucking get up and do something about it. Like goddamn, dude, I feel you.
And you know what? I felt like the characters, and I feel like it's sad that this is rare, but I felt like the characters were quote unquote smart in this movie.
Yeah. And likable. Like when they go to the school and the teacher's getting on to their son for saying the word pecker.
Yeah, they're both laughing.
They can barely keep in their laughter. It's like,
it
really,
feels like they're real parents.
Yeah. Like you're gonna call us like I'm going to a parent teacher conference like this weekend, And if this teacher says something about Max saying pecker, like
you're just gonna be like, okay.
Are you fucking like this is warranted for
I got called
meeting?
in especially for this?
Like, this is the funniest shit I've ever been a part of. So yeah, moments like that are like very real and human and just really impressive, I think. Like I really enjoyed this movie. Thank God it waits to the very last minute to disappoint you.
I agree, and I think sometimes we disagree heavily with we have different things that we like, compared to Gray, but I think this time he definitely hit it with, what do you give it, a 6.5?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's really fair. I mean, because it's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't necessarily think it warrants, because of some of the overuse of the blue tinting and the really bad CG.
Yeah.
I don't think you could honestly give it much more than a 7.
And even if you had not had the tinting issues, not had the shitty CG issues, we're still looking at 7.5.
Right. It's not blowing you away.
It's not rewriting anything, but it's a very solid entry into the genre. Like it's available everywhere. It's on I don't know if it's available everywhere. I know it's at least on demand right now, like iTunes, Google Play.
It's definitely available.
I don't know if it's on. I know RLJ Image Entertainment is bringing it to DVD home video. I don't know when that is. My bad, but it is coming fairly soon. But you can watch it right now on demand, iTunes, Google Play, Xbox Video, whatever you want to do. And I recommend that you do. I really do.
I definitely say this is worth, whatever it might be, the couple $1 rental.
Yeah, it can't be much.
Yeah, if you've seen it, seen everything else, watch this. This is worth it. It'll be, even with the poor CG at the end, I was entertained.
Yep. Absolutely, and I, as you will, but by the time, I knew the poor CG was coming, as you will now.
Right now. Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's still a good movie.
I think it's actually better if you kind of are prepared for it.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take our last break. When we come back, we're going to have a very special ceremony of sorts.
Ooh.
We're going to get some candles out.
Yeah.
We're not going to do any of that. But
I might go get some liquor, though.
We're definitely going to go get some liquor. We are going to go over our mid-year superlatives. I realize that it is just a few days shy of August, but fuck it.
Still mid-year. Deal with it.
Still mid-year. We're going to talk about the best shit that we've seen so far and hand out some unofficial Modern Horrors awards coming up next.